I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. I'm gonna give you guys time to come into the conversation. We have a good discussion today with an extraordinary person who's gonna join me today. And I'm really excited to get a chance to bring to you guys on my channel, Miss Vicki Dillard, the one and only Vicki Dillard, a mega star over at Fly Nubian Queen TV, a brilliant Black sister who is just setting the world on fire. And so before I get started, I want to ask my sister Vicki, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well. So happy to be with the great Dr. Boyce.
Oh, you better stop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, you are a pioneer for Black media, Black business, and we are so pleased that you're on the team for Black folk. And I remember years ago watching you on CNN, and just think today, collaborating with you is an honor.
Well, you know, the honor is all mine, and it is, you know, it's a distinct pleasure to be a part of all the great stuff that you're doing, because I know that you're changing lives. I know that people are responding to your great work. In fact, last week you were really adamant about what was going on with Myron Rolle, the brother who played in the NFL, who is now a neurosurgeon or in the Harvard neurosurgery program. Yes. And Amanda Seals was talking slick in a way that just wasn't appropriate, you know, basically calling him a sexual predator.
Right.
And you defended him. And Myron actually reached out to say thank you. Is that correct? Like,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure did. Said thank you on Instagram. And that was such an honor to do that. Such an honor. And to hear from him just really makes you feel like that your work really, really matters.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, and I tell you, I think I can identify with why Myron went out of his way to thank you. Because, you know, nobody's really defending Black men on any level. You know, people, they you know, attack us. They want to just believe the worst about us. There's nobody really sort of, you know, pointing out the good in the Black man, and, you know, or defending us. You know, when a Black man gets accused of something, everybody believes it's true automatically, no matter what. So there aren't that many people that are taking the front lines on that, and that's what leads me to appreciate, you know, women like yourself. You know, it doesn't excuse everything that a Black man does, right? We know that there's some people out here that are doing things that are inappropriate.
Sure.
But, you know, for those of us who are trying to do the right thing,
yes,
know that there are Black women who will stand up and say, no, stop it. You know, so I think, so on behalf of Myron and every other Black man out here, you know, who ain't trying to hurt nobody, ain't trying to rape nobody, ain't trying to commit harassment, assault, none of that, I want to say thank you so much for that.
It's an honor. Absolutely. Our men, you all are our frontline defense. You are our frontline defense. Do you know that? To provide and to protect. It's in our best interest to make sure that we stand up, you know, for our men. And when you have a holistic understanding of what's happening historically, it makes it easier to do that. Like you said, it doesn't excuse bad behavior. We call that out when we see it as well, but it gives you an understanding of what time we're in and the war we're in. And I have to say this, to be honest with you, while I've had negative experiences relationally with Black men, Dr. Boyce, it has been Black men that have come to my defense as it relates to when I was dealing with stuff in the belly of the beast, when I was being transported back and forth, even with the brothers of the Nation of Islam that were gentlemen and that stood with their sister and that were a blessing to me. It's the great Dr. Boyce that also opened up a major door, a Black man on a platform so that a Black woman's voice is able to be heard. Oh, I cape for Black men all day long. Yes, sir. All day long.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, we're gonna be caping right back. So everybody who's watching, you know, if you're on Your Black World YouTube, y'all may not be able to see her if you're on Facebook. I'm speaking with Miss Vicki Dillard. Vicki Dillard, she's if you want to see her, she's actually, if you go to drboycetv.com, you can actually see her and me side by side on the screen. But if not, if you just want to listen in, you can listen in from wherever you are. Please hit the like button, share button, and thumbs up button before we get started. Please do that so that the interview will go far and wide. As you know, we're pushing intelligent Black media out to the world. This is a movement. This is something where we're able now to reach over 1 million Black people a week. We've reached several million people during the last month, and we're going to keep growing that. We've got master plans in place that you would not believe. And this is just the beginning stages of the major takeover that's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the share button, subscribe button, all that stuff. So Vicki, let's jump into the topic. I wanted to, you and I were talking today.
Yes.
And you and I both have done on our individual channels, you on Fly Nubian Queen and myself on Dr. Boyce TV. We've talked a lot about this whole thing with Gayle King and R. Kelly, right? Yes. You know, not in a way, you know, I know I can't speak for you, but I can say my personal position is that I'm not here to say R. Kelly's an angel. I can't do that. There was just too much out there. But really, when I see a black man being portrayed on national TV as the face of predatory behavior, you know, Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, etc. I know it affects all of us. It doesn't just affect him. You know, they want you to believe, oh, it's just we just want to lynch that Negro over there. Yes. But you know, y'all coming to lynch all of us. You're coming to get everybody, right? Yes. Because you're seeing in the minds of a white person, in my opinion, you're seeing R. Kelly or Michael Jackson or whomever you're trying to go after that week as a representative of a group of people, you know, a culture, almost the way Hitler would take the very worst of the Jews. Yes. and put him in front of everybody and say, look at this criminal, look at this scumbag, look at this liar, this thief, this terrible person. And then they would be like, well, let's just kill them all. Yes. So that we don't have any of them, so we can get rid of all of them, right? Yes. And so with that interview between Gayle and R. Kelly, what were some of your feelings and your sentiments, you know, when you saw how all that went down in the aftermath of that?
So much, Dr. Boyce. And first of all, I'm reminded of something that you posted that inspired one of my shows. And you juxtaposed what was taking place with R. Kelly to Willie Horton. And some folks might not remember Willie Horton. And of course, he, years ago, Bush 1, utilized this man that was convicted of a crime, right? He was considered to actually be a criminal. He was on a furlough, which means, for those who don't know, they allowed him to go outside of the prison. Sometimes you do that for work. Sometimes you can be excused to go to a funeral or something like that. So allegedly, he committed another crime or so forth while he was out on furlough, because he was supposed to be in prison, I believe, for the rest of his life, if I'm not mistaken. Well, what happened? Little did he know that from the White House, from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, they were plotting to use this black face, this black incident, this black criminal for a much larger purpose, right? And what did that do? They ended up using an ad to give the appearance to the white base, the white racist base, some would say arguably, for George H.W. Bush, to drive folks to the poll, to give them the appearance that these scary Black folks were going to be released from prison if they were to vote for the opposition, which was Dukakis, I believe, at the time. So I found in my research that to this day, do you know that they utilize that ad to teach in political science classes because of the effectiveness of it? And that the mastermind behind the ad, before he died, said that was one of the greatest regrets he had by bringing that up, because he understood the racist impact that it had. And just imagine, not only did it get Bush elected, right? That ad was effective because it worked. And it made him feel that he was going to be tough on crime and keep those Negroes in their place. That's number one. Number two, it set the environment for future administrations when, for example, Clinton signed the 3 strikes bill, right? Because it's the Democrats was trying to let the Republicans know that, no, we're the one that's the toughest on crime, right? So they threw us under the bus in terms of the criminalization. But what did they first do? They have to first create an environment, a climate, to make us look like a bunch of criminals. You understand? So this is political. It is media warfare. And it's exactly what you said. When they see one, it's bigger than R. Kelly. It's bigger than Bill Cosby. It's bigger than Chris Brown. When they see one, subconsciously, they're seeing all. We know that that's the case because even Rutgers, Dr. Boyce, Rutgers University, I was reading to the audience some days back, they did a study and they found a direct correlation, a direct correlation between media images, negative media images of Black people and negative criminal direct instances that we have dealing with the police. So it's proven, and not only it's political, political science classes, they're teaching this. So it's so important. And one more thing, I was thinking about Liam Neeson. Remember that white actor who came out not too long ago, right? What did he say? This white actor who so many folk love, he came out, was real comfortable when he was talking to the journalist, right? And exposed the fact that when they were asking him, what's your motivation for this role that he got, right? He relied upon something that he said took place some years ago where this white woman, he didn't say whether it was a good friend or a family member, he kept that a private, but she said that she was raped by a Black man. And he said that for up to a week to a week and a half, he literally went different places with a stick in his hand, including some pubs, looking, his words, for a Black bastard to kill. He did not say, Dr. Boyce, he was looking for the alleged assailant, this 6 foot, whatever it is, whatever the dimensions were, which they didn't get into the details of that. He said any one of them. He said he was looking for someone to even come out of a pub just to start something with him, a Black bastard to kill. What am I saying that for? That means, again, they see us all the same. And so that's why it's so dangerous to allow the media to make the Black man the face of white sexual deviancy. It is so dangerous to allow that to go unchecked and unchallenged. Why? Because it normalizes it, right? It normalizes it, and it becomes very dangerous. And there are real world effects, real world impacts when we let that go unchallenged. So this is bigger than R. Kelly.
Yeah, well, before we move forward, I want everybody to know, if you just came in, I'm talking to Vicki Dillard from FlyNewBeingQueenTV.com. You can follow her on Instagram at VickiXDillard. I assume you're on Twitter and YouTube as well, Vicki X Dillard. They can find you there. Okay, so you should definitely follow the sister. Look her up, Google her. She's very, very good. Also, if you're on YouTube, everybody on YouTube and Facebook, etc., please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the share button, hit the like, subscribe, all that stuff, so that more people will see the conversation. This is very, very important. So, Vicki, I want to ask you this question. This is an important question, and I think it's important for you to answer this question in your words. There are a lot of people out there who heard, your commentary on it, my commentary, and other people's commentary on the racism in the R. Kelly and Michael Jackson situations. And they reduced a lot of it down to, why are you defending R. Kelly? R. Kelly, there's proof, there's videotapes, there's all kinds of stuff out there. Why would you defend a person who is accused of doing what he did? Can you kind of explain how you address that critique when people say that, that you're blaming R. Kelly's bad choices on racism and denying him accountability for his actions? What is your response to that?
Well, first of all, there's no denying him accountability. That's number one. I believe that he does need to be held accountable, but I believe that Black folk need to really begin to invest in policing our own communities. There are organizations out there, for example, 10,000 Fearless, which is the brainchild of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that does not just include folks in the Nation of Islam. The 10,000 Fearless is about folk who are willing to make their neighborhoods safe and decent places to live. Why are we doing that? Because Black folks who in good conscience calls the police, guess what ends up happening, Dr. Boyce, when we call the police to settle domestic issues? Somehow, somebody ends up dying. We've seen that in the news. Somehow, something goes very, very wrong. And if the police is an outgrowth of slavery, the patty patrols, the slave catchers, and we're seeing nonstop murder and death by those who are supposed to protect and serve us, we've got to say, hey, we need to come up with something different to address our own problems, because our open enemy, our historic 464-year open enemy, relying on them to settle our disputes and to police us and to govern us is just not going to work. So that's number one. I'm just simply suggesting that we begin to think about moving in that direction. Also, brother, for example, Willie Muhammad out of Louisiana. This is a brother that I interviewed with on radio not too long ago. He has his group. Do you know that gangbangers in Louisiana come to them to settle their disputes? instead of going to the police. I just want folks to know that it's real. I just want folks to begin to think in those terms, in the same way we're thinking in terms of starting to homeschool our own children. Why? Because we see that they're drugging our babies in the schools. We see that they are putting them in special ed classes. We see that they're graduating uneducated. We see that they are incarcerating them. They're arresting them. The school to prison pipeline in the schools. So just like we need to have an alternative to schools, an alternative to business and so forth, we need to have an alternative to how we govern ourselves. So that's one of the things that I was saying, understanding that we still have to work sometimes within the systems that we have until ours are more fully established. That's number one. The other thing I want to say is what I said a few minutes ago. It's bigger than R. Kelly. It's what I said a few minutes ago. It's the fact that they understand how our brains work. When they launch something with media, when they show a particular image, this is science. They're able to prove this through studies, the impact that it has on one's subconscious. So there are competing agendas, Dr. Boyce, that happens. So while you're sitting here talking about what's going on with R. Kelly, right? At the same time, someone else who has an even larger impact. You understand what I'm saying? The evil with which the sexual deviant, let's just say those sexual deviant powers that have a base within Hollywood and that can control a lot of the images and so forth, they have a much bigger impact than just a single R. Kelly. While we can address the R. Kelly situation, we would be remiss not to address the overarching scheme, the overarching agenda that is using him just like Willie Horton was being used. Little did he know by whom? The President of the United States, for an election that turned out to be effective for George H.W. Bush. That's my point, is to understand there are competing agendas that are going on. And because it's American history, it's American praxis, it's America's pattern, right? To misuse our images from blackface, because don't forget, blackface was in place before the Civil War. Before the Civil War supposedly was about freeing black folk, right? That was the big war between the North and the South, right? Do you know that blackface existed then? Why? Because they understood then the importance of making mockery of the black man. They understood how to utilize those images to mock us. Why? To define and to dehumanize. That is what I want us to realize, is that your open enemy has a much larger, more deleterious scheme and agenda that's happening at the same time. And we need to be aware of it because we are at war. That was a long answer, but
no, I think it's a good answer. My reaction on that had been that, even the guilty would actually deserve some kind of defense. Like that's the justice system. The justice system isn't just for people who didn't do it. It's for the people who did, to make sure the punishment fits the crime, to make sure that you have all the facts, etc. Like if I go out here and I kill one person, that doesn't give you permission to go and pin 30 other murders on me, because you say, well, if he killed the first one, he must have killed the other 30. No, punish me for the one murder I did, not for the other 30 that I did not do.
Well said.
And with R. Kelly, you did get a sense. I mean, just speaking on R. Kelly in particular as an individual, you did have this interesting narrative where it was, there's these bad stories about R. Kelly with underage girls from many years ago. And there was pretty compelling evidence, right? There's videotapes and all that. But then they're like, okay, and let me tell you what else this Negro did. He's brainwashing women. He's mentally abusing them. He's got them trapped in the closet and pee in a bucket. And people are believing the extra stuff because you believe the first thing, right?
Right.
Again, like the example where I said, just because he killed one person, you're assuming he killed 100 people. Or OJ, because we knew that OJ beat Nicole, he must have also killed her too. Right? That was the logic people would use. So, that was where I got off the bus. When you stop talking about the young ladies, I got off the bus at that point because I said, I'm not really sure. I have not seen any evidence that shows me that these adult women that are engaged in relationships with him are there against their will. I've always been led to believe that if no means no, for example, when a woman says something, she means it. So if no means no, then I also assume that yes must mean yes. that if I ask you, okay, does he have you locked up? Does he, well, no, we're fine. Okay, do you want to leave? Do you want us to come rescue you? No, I don't. I want to be here. Okay, well, do you want us to come in and bang down the door and take you out of the house? No, I want you to leave me alone. Well, what am I supposed to do? Right?
That's right.
So we're being told to respect and listen to women and believe women and listen to what they say. But then the next minute they're like, no, but don't believe those women. They're all brainwashed because they like this guy, and there's no way anybody in their right mind could ever like R. Kelly. And I just would think that don't even make any sense. Even serial killers have had girlfriends, like I mean, everybody is liked by somebody, and I don't understand. I never understood. I never really can understand why any woman would be attracted to R. Kelly, but I met plenty of women who were. Right. After they did the whole documentary, he went out and he went to he did the little appearance at the club or whatever, and there were women holding up signs saying, "Please kidnap me." And again, I don't agree with it. I would want my child out there doing that, but if that's what a grown woman chooses to do, I've just been trained to respect that.
That's right.
So I think that it was hard. It was confusing. It was very confusing for me as a man to understand, like, wait, at what point, do I listen to women or don't not listen to women? Like, do I respect what they say or do I not respect what they say? Oh, I get it. You want me to listen to women when they say things that are consistent with the image you're trying to paint of this man.
Absolutely.
You don't want us to listen when somebody paints a different image. And that's when I knew that a lot of the documentary, even though there are facts in there, there's no question about that.
Sure.
But you knew it was like a political hit job because R. Kelly is a guy who he's had a lot of girlfriends, right?
Right.
He had about 100, right? But you're talking to like 4, right? So,
right.
Like the 4 that hate him the most. I'm like, well,
That's
what about
right.
96? What do they have to say?
That's right.
Let me hear them too, so I can get a clearer picture. But you don't want me to have a clearer picture because you want to tell me what I'm supposed to think. And that's when I get a little bit concerned. That's when I get offended, when you're trying to control my mind. I don't like anybody. Give me the facts. Just give me all the facts and let me make my own decision. Don't tell me what to think. So let me ask you about this. Okay, so Gayle, after she did the interview, everybody was praising Gayle. You and I were looking through some of the articles online, and all these articles and interviews and everything. They're praising Gayle for keeping her composure in the face of this scary black man who got up out of his chair and was yelling at the camera. And they're like, my God, were you afraid?
Oh my gosh.
Did you think he was going to hit you? And here's what I asked myself, and I want your take on this, Vicki.
Yes.
I was like, you really thought that he was going to punch her? At what point, y'all answer this for me. Vicki's here, so I can say it with her. Talk black to us.
Please do it. Please do it.
Talk black to me on this. Somebody respond. Y'all tell me, has there been any time in the history of all television where somebody in a national TV interview jumped up and punched the interviewer? Tell me one time where somebody was on a CBS interview in front of 10 million people and punched the interviewer in the face. They really were acting like Gayle should have been in fear of her life, like R. Kelly was going to strangle her there on camera in front of everybody. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, excellent point. I was so frustrated hearing her being congratulated as if she deserves, some kind of Nobel Peace Prize for sitting there, keeping her composure. First of all, you get paid to keep your composure. The second thing is exactly what you said. When have we known in the history of interviews that that one of those that are being interviewed in situations like this, would actually strike the interviewer? That was implausible, number one. The other thing is we are Black. We are folks with melanin, Dr. Boyce. We speak with our hands. We're animated people, right? So we are passionate. And for him, whether you like it or lump it, he was upset because it was one of his first times being able to actually have an interview and actually formally respond in this type of platform to so many of the allegations. And again, right or wrong, he felt that so much of it was wrong and that he was angered by it, and he was upset and he was expressing it. And then my mind went to this, Dr. Boyce. And I would be interested to hear your thoughts on this. I thought to myself, I remember when Oprah some years ago did an interview with Tom Cruise. He jumped up, got up in a big burst and start jumping up and down on the couch. Do you remember that interview with Tom Cruise and Oprah Winfrey? And I don't recall anybody putting out any articles, any features, covers, anything like that, stating if Oprah was afraid, would Tom jumped up and started acting a donkey, was she concerned for her life and this sort of thing? That's my concern. And it goes to push this narrative of the big, scary black man. Think about this, Dr. Boyce. In one of the interviews of QZ.com, when they were covering this, can I just read this little quote from the news article? It says this, I was too done. It's talking about the media reviews of the interview praised King for asking tough questions of Kelly and what was the musician's first public discussion of the charges. Further down, it says this. At one point, Kelly jumped out of his chair and began yelling and swearing both directly into the camera and at King. Although his eruption was chilling enough to shake viewers in the safety of their living rooms, King sat calmly the whole time. Are you kidding me? Did you hear that?
It's like King Kong broke out of his cage.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Listen to how that's written. Listen to the narrative that's pushing about the big, scary black man. These are the things that justifies in the minds of police when they say that they fear for their life over 12-year-old Tamir Rice. Or our other boys, when you look at the language, they say that he was a gorilla. Mike Brown, like he felt like he was a little 5-year-old child and he was a big gorilla. Those things, this is what I'm talking about when I say they have real world consequences. When we allow these narratives and these tropes about our men to go unchecked and unchallenged, that's a real world consequences. Not only that, if the police happens to be charged, which we know most of the times they're not, right, Dr. Boyce? When they are charged, when they are indicted, it's because what? We're putting so much pressure on them. We're putting so much attention on them that it forces the DA, or they take it to what, a grand jury, to see if they can get the grand jury to get a bill moved forward so that they can indict, right? What happens if a jury hears a case and you wonder why the jury comes back not guilty? It's because the jury has a mindset, what? That has been informed by racist white media. You understand what I'm saying? And we look at something and we say this was murder, and they look at it and say, what? Justified homicide. This is very dangerous. Just the language of this. Anyway, I was too done reading that.
Well, you know, I think that what you bring up is an excellent point. And I don't want to say Mr. Pirate, by the way, you mentioned that you're blocked on the Your Black World channel. Well, I just unblocked you. So the blocking must have happened by accident, brother. So you are in for good. He was telling us that he's blocked, but he supports it. So I went ahead and unblocked him. Just be respectful on the channel. So whatever happened, I don't know what happened, but you know, we let you back in, brother. So you good. But you know what, Vicki, let me say this. You know, I think that you're right. You know, when you brought up that whole situation with Tom Cruise jumping up and down on Oprah's couch, that really got me thinking, right? I don't recall at any point anybody asking Oprah if she feared for her life or thought that he was going to punch her out or whatever. And I want to share this picture with you guys. I hope you guys can see it. Vicki, are you able to see the R. Kelly picture on your screen?
Not. It looks like it's preparing to do something, but I don't quite see it.
Okay, let me see if I can try it again. Sometimes this computer has a mind of its own.
Yes, okay. Yes, sir.
So there, and those of you who want to see what I'm showing on screen, feel free to go to drboycetv.com and you can see this. So here's R. Kelly, right? R. Kelly is, you know, first of all, he's doing an interview that I never would have advised him to do.
Right.
Not that I have an interest in protecting the career of R. Kelly. I muted R. Kelly a long time ago, but
right.
I just don't think R. Kelly's going to win when he goes in interviews with platforms owned by white people. He's just not going to win. He should have learned that when he did that Huffington Post interview that went bad. I don't know if y'all remember that. He got interviewed by one of those feminists, and they tore his ass up.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And so he should have learned it then, but I guess you know he's maybe got some arrogance or overconfidence, whatever you want to call it. But here's the image of R. Kelly standing up with Gayle. Gayle is looking forward. R. Kelly is doing his dramatic thing, and then you go and look at Tom Cruise. Now look at. Now look, I mean, compare those two images, y'all. I want y'all, compare those images. Give us your thoughts. Tell us what you think. What's the difference? One man standing up, the other. One man standing up because he's excited. the other man standing up because he's excited.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
each men are on a platform, one with Gayle, one with Oprah, and both of these men are acting a fool because they feel passionate about something.
Yes.
And at no point did anybody ever ask Oprah Winfrey if she feared for her life or thought that that big scary white man was going to kill her on the spot or slap her or kick her in the face or punch her out.
That's right.
I think that that you're right on point with that in terms of how people see it. And then let me point out another example of something that I experienced that I thought about when I saw this. I thought about, you know, little black boys in school and how little black boys often get in trouble, particularly with white teachers, because boys have a lot of energy and they might jump out of the desk. I used to do it when I was little. You know, I would get in trouble all the time because I would just want to jump up, or if I got excited, I wanted to hurry up and answer the question, I would speak out of turn, or I would raise my hand too fast, or jump up, you know, just whatever, because I wanted to stand up. And I remember that it seemed like I would just sort of get this weird reaction, almost like I was an animal that needed to be controlled or put down, you know. And then there was another situation where I was at the University of Kentucky, and I was a sophomore in college. And now back then, to register for classes, you had to wait in line for a long time to register. And in order for me to register, I had to go pay an overdue fee at the library. It wasn't much. I forgot how much it was, but I was in college, so even $10 was a lot of money for me back then. And I went to the library. I paid this fine, got in line. I was in this line for about an hour and a half. I finally get to the front of this long line, and the lady gets on the computer and she starts registering for me for my classes. She says, "I'm sorry, but I can't register you." I said, "Well, why not?" She said, "Well, because you have a library fee that you owe." And I was like, "But I paid that fee. It doesn't say that I paid." She's like, "No, it doesn't register that you paid it." And so I started getting mad. I said, "I waited in this line, like what? I should be letting me register." Like, I was really mad. And do you know what happened was, it was real weird. I stopped, like, after I kind of got irate, and I looked around, and all the white people were sitting there just staring at me, like afraid of what I was going to do next.
Wow.
Like, they looked at me like I was going to punch somebody out or kill somebody. And that was when I became conscious of the fear that people had of me just for being black. Just the color of my skin made people think that I was a wild animal that could just do anything and hurt anybody. So I thought about that when I saw the R. Kelly thing. What are your thoughts on just, you know, any of this?
What you just said is so profound, Dr. Boyce. I can totally relate to that, even as a woman, because how often as Black women are we told, you know, calm down, put your hands down. You seem like an angry Black woman. It doesn't take all of that while you're raising your voice. And because we know how to interpret each other. And again, I say we are an alive people. We speak more than just with our mouth. We speak with our hands. We speak with our bodies. We're excited. And whether we're passionate and happy about something or whether we're angry about something, you know, this is who we are. But you know why? Not only it has a whole lot to do, obviously, with the conditioning of our images, but they've normalized white mannerisms, haven't they? They've normalized, you know, the way white folk do things as if this is the standard, you understand? And this is how you're supposed to behave in these circumstances, in these situations. And so I think that that's another big problem, the way that they've normalized behaviors as if white folks are the standard that we're supposed to, you know, try to reach for, and that the standard we're supposed to meet. And then I'm also thinking about too, recently, did you see that recently with Tucker Carlson, how they played video of him, audio video of him. He was a shock jock. He was on a shock jock show or something. And he was calling folk in the so-called Middle East semi-illiterate monkeys. And then he started it though before that, talking about Black folks that, especially Black politicians, when they hold basically white folks accountable and stuff, talking about racism and so forth. But the fact that he would say monkeys in that so-called, that Middle East part of the world. You understand what I'm saying? And then he's talking about black politicians all in the same voice. And then he said this, how white folk civilized the world. The white man civilized the world. That's a quote that he had. I talked about it yesterday briefly on the show too. How white folks civilized the world. So how often have we heard them call Michelle Obama monkeys? Mm-hmm. How often have we've seen them call Barack Obama, referred to him as some other animal? My point is, these are tropes, these are narratives, these things are pushed, like you said, as if they need to control this untamed animal. You understand what I'm saying? But they keep reinforcing those images and those narratives and those thoughts about us through language, through words, and so forth and so on. And that's why I say we need to push back on that. And thank God for Your Black World. Thank God for Black media. You understand what I'm saying? We're starting to control the narrative. And we're not going to apologize for being unapologetically Black. Mm. We're not going to tone it down. You understand what I'm saying? Because of your inferiority complex and your own insecurities. No, baby. We're just getting started. And so anyway, so I just think that that's something that is just quite frustrating. And I was just too dumb when I saw that. And the thing of it is right after it happened, Gayle admitted that she at no time, what she said, at no time was she fearful. You understand?
Well, at least Gayle had a little bit of sense about that. I mean, I think anybody who watched R. Kelly get up, I think if you look closely, what you really saw, the way he was moving, it's like, I was like, oh, he moves like that in his music videos. When he starts singing, trapped in the closet. So I was like, okay, so he's trying to perform again. For the audience. Again, bad move for R. Kelly to even be in there in the first place. Like, it ain't gonna work for you, bro. Like, what are you, like, you shouldn't be doing this interview, but you're there. So with R. Kelly, if you recall back when back 15 years ago, when R. Kelly first got caught with that first sex tape with that young girl, ridiculous, right? Unacceptable. I'm not cool with any of that. And for a week he was silent, and then BET gave him his first interview. I think he has to deal with BET because they were really trying to protect him. And he goes on BET and he does an interview. And during the interview, all he does is he tells people, just focus on my music. Just focus on my music. And I understood why he was doing that. The reason he was doing that is because he knows that that's his saving grace. It's like if you're a comedian and you get caught in some kind of scandal, make some funny jokes.
Laugh, right.
To remind them why they like you. Or Neil deGrasse Tyson, he got caught up in this some Me Too stuff. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a really smart physicist. He's an astrophysicist, and he didn't tweet for 2 months. But then when he tweeted just this week, the first time he tweeted something super smart. So everybody hit the like button because they were like, oh, this is so smart, right? Because his strength is his intelligence. Yes. Basically, with R. Kelly, the same way deGrasse Tyson's strength is his intellect, Jerry Seinfeld's strength might be comedy. R. Kelly knows that his strength is his musical talent. And I believe that that's one of the reasons why he leans people back toward hearing him sing. Like, in fact, interview. And in fact, like I said, if I were advising him, which I wouldn't do, because I'm not, again, I don't have no horse in the game when it comes to defending R. Kelly on that, because I'm not a big fan of his. But I would have probably told him, look, just go do what you did in this one interview where they told him, they said, tell your life story. And he sang his whole life story. Wow. And if you watch the video, it was really interesting. I looked at the comments. This was right in the middle of the whole controversy. Wow. All the comments were positive. Everybody was like, he is so talented. Oh my God, he is so good. And I'm sitting thinking, wow, that just says something about how our society operates in terms of how we're triggered by things good or bad or whatever it is. And so I think that in general, they're triggering racism by putting the image of the scary black man on TV. And of course, you're going to believe anything that they say because they want you to believe that the black man is the original super predator. Right. And that we all believe it belong in prison. So that's their trigger. R. Kelly, to me, I don't think he had a counter trigger. I think he went in there and he did the interview in a way where I don't think he was all that believable. I think if R. Kelly is asked, have you ever slept with an underage girl? And he says, absolutely not. Right there, ain't nobody gonna believe nothing else. And, I mean, but here's the thing. what I think could be, brought up, I would have loved to see him bring some of this up, not so he could walk away and act like he didn't do anything wrong, but to make a clear point. We know that you had Elvis and Hugh Hefner and all
right.
Hugh Hefner, I think, is a perfect example. Hugh Hefner did everything R. Kelly's doing in his life. Hugh Hefner had lots of underage girls in the Playboy Mansion. Hugh Hefner had many girlfriends living in the same house with him, doing only God knows what. And so I would, again, not
they made TV shows about him.
Right, and they celebrated him, right? Yes. They celebrated Elvis. Yes. So I think that the point that people are making, I'm gonna shut up and let you talk. I didn't mean to talk so much, but the point that I believe that they're making, when people use the hashtag them first.
Yes,
they're not saying R. Kelly is a good guy. That's not the question. The question is not, is R. Kelly guilty or not guilty? That's not the question. The actual question is, why is it that when we're looking for guilty people to put on TV, we're going to go after a black man as opposed to a white man? We know that there's guilty people in every community, but for some reason, when they feature us, they're always featuring our guilty first. And they don't say a word about the entire massive pedophile networks that exist in Hollywood. And I think that's where Oprah and Gayle are really making themselves look terrible to black people. Because you're sitting here talking about you're protecting victims when you go interview Michael Jackson, or you want to go tear down R. Kelly and all this other stuff, but you haven't said a word about Weinstein. You haven't said a word about the pedophiles in Hollywood, your friends, your buddies. You ain't said a word about none of that. So that tells me that you just scared of white folks. You got two kids. One's the adopted stepchild. The other one is your beloved child. And the two kids do the same thing. One of them, you give them a pass. The other one, you smack them. They're basically doing the black people, because we've always been the stepchild of America. Vicki.
Exactly. Well said. The long and short of it is, you're the mathematician. So if 85, 90%, 95% of all pedophiles and let's just say sexual deviants are white men, and the only docuseries that we're seeing are of black men, and we only make up 13, 14% of the population, black folks in general. And so black men only make up a fraction of that 13, 14%. But yet we have these follow-up docuseries and episodes and so forth. Cosby, Dateline just recently, Dr. Boyce, did a hit piece on Cosby. Bill Cosby is a blind 81-year-old man who is in prison. Bill Cosby is in prison as we speak, and he is blind, and he is in his 80s, but Dateline just recently did a hit piece on him. Michael Jackson is no longer with us. He's been gone for about a decade, and they just did a hit piece on him. The question has to be asked. None of these things are happening with, as you just said, this overwhelming number of white sexual deviants, sexual predators, pedophiles, and the like, right? So we know that racism is involved just based on the numbers, right? Because we're not seeing the same type of response. But we also know that it is very clear it's because you all are trying to push the narrative and make the black man the face of really white sexual deviancy to cover for that. You understand? Because you want to equalize it. You want to make it look like it's them too. It's not just us, because it looks bad. It looks really bad for white folk when you find out that you are almost exclusively, the only domestic terrorist in the United States of America that's shooting up not only black parishioners, but you're shooting up this white on white crime, your own people in Arizona, when you blew up all those folks, blew the heads off of almost 36 people or so in Arizona for a country music concert, right? So it looks really, really bad. So every night out of desperation, they'll sprinkle in a Bill Cosby here. They'll sprinkle in and try to make a Chris Brown, you understand, to distract from the overwhelming number of white folks that are the norm for this type of behavior. And we're going to call them out. So while all this was going on, what was happening? Weinstein was trying to get off. You understand, in court, the judge had just rebuked his attorneys for trying to get another delay. Some folks don't know that Weinstein Did you know that Weinstein, in his investigation leading up to this, because it was so many women that was accusing him, do you know that he hired former Mossad agents to get on his case to discredit some of the women? Shout out to Final Call newspaper that exposed that. The Mossad is the equivalent to the, for those who don't know, the Mossad is the equivalent of America's like CIA. Here, former Mossad agents is who he hired, y'all, to do some of his dirt, to help to discredit some of the, so while we sit here talking about, you understand what I'm saying? You got all of this other stuff going on over here. The Catholic Church, it's not a mere national issue with them. Thousands of victims. It's a global problem. It's a systemic and institutional problem of them, think on this, raping children without impunity.
Oh, you're making my head hurt with that one, Vicki. Ooh, Lord, I'm just sitting there thinking about that. I mean, yeah, I think that you know, some of these stories are hard to hear, and I think that when you start talking about the stuff with the children and everything, it just breaks my heart, makes me want to vomit and everything in between. And everybody, I want you all to know who I'm speaking with. I'm speaking to Miss Vicki Dillard. Vicki is a megastar over on the Fly Nubian Queen network at flynubianqueentv.com. She also can be found on social media. You can find her on Instagram at Vicki X Dillard. You can find her on Twitter. Are you under Vicki X Dillard on Twitter?
Dillard Vicki on Twitter.
Dillard Vicki on Twitter.
Yes.
And on YouTube, I can just type in Vicki Dillard.
You got it. You got it.
All right. And everybody, please hit that thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. If you're on Facebook, please hit the hearts and likes and shares and everything else. That'll help the conversation get spread out further. Our goal is to push intelligent Black media throughout the world. If you wish to support or to be a part of this and become a patron, part of the tribe, feel free to go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. And basically, when you become a member, you get all kinds of free stuff to go with your membership. So you can feel free to give that a try, intelligentblackpeople.com. And also, don't forget, the Dr. Boyce TV show is on iTunes now. So if you want to listen on your way to the plantation or while you're at work or wherever it is you got going on, we're on iTunes. She's asking, let's see, someone's asking, I would love to meet you. Do you ever come to Dallas? Sometimes. We haven't been to Dallas in a while, but we will be back at some point, and I'll let you know when. So Vicki, last words on R. Kelly. Where do you think, or just R. Kelly, Gayle, Oprah, everything else? Do you think, I was thinking about this too, I'd like to get your take on this. Do you think that Gayle and Oprah are going to experience a prolonged impact of the fact that there's so many Black people that are upset with what they said? I mean, Oprah knew when she even agreed to do the Michael Jackson interview, she knew the Black community was going to be livid.
She did.
You know, Gayle probably knows, you know, the community's reaction. Not as strong though as the Michael Jackson. I think the Michael Jackson, when we've done surveys, what was interesting is on our Your Black World survey, we found that the majority of our subscribers believe that R. Kelly's guilty, that he has slept with underage girls, but also they believe that the way it's being covered is racist, right? So it's an intelligent audience, right? So they can see that even though we might think he's guilty, there's still racism. Whereas with Michael Jackson, this was very surprising. With Michael Jackson, the vast majority of them not only believe that there's racism in his case, but they believe he's innocent. They believe he didn't do nothing.
Yes.
Oprah is digging up the grave of an innocent man to tarnish his reputation, all to earn favor with a bunch of white folks.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on any of that?
Well, I would say, yes, I do believe that they are going to experience some long-term effects, and it's going to happen incrementally though. And it's already happening. You know why? Because of the new Black media that's rising. It's because now we have a microphone of our own, and it's not the normal NBCs, ABCs, CBS, MSNBCs. You feel me? It's stuff like this where our voices are heard, and we get a chance to now interject our opinions into this, and we can clearly see the racism, we can clearly see the hypocrisy in this. And so because folks are starting to have voices, I have seen a lot of Black media folk that are raising their voices, that are calling Oprah out, that are calling Gayle out. And you know, the primary reason is because she was the queen of talk. 25 years her show ran. She knows the impact of what she's doing. And not only that, I read from a quote in the newspaper what she said, and folks heard her say this even when she was doing the interview of these guys, two of the accusers. You know what she said? She specifically said, Dr. Boyce, that the Black community folks are going to say that she's basically letting down the Black man. She said that out of her own mouth. But guess what? She was still willing. She was willing to allow us to be angry. We were worth that sacrifice to her for her to still do it. So that's how I know that there's an overarching agenda here. And not only that, I believe that she's trying to appease some of even her powerful white handlers, because don't forget, Harvey Weinstein is her buddy. He's a very extraordinarily powerful white Jewish man in Hollywood, but don't forget, he had a big hand in Oprah's success as well. There was a connection there related to Harvey Weinstein. So absolutely, I do believe that they're going to receive a big backlash. And not only that, I found it interesting the other day, Gayle was on her show, that morning show, the morning news show, and you know, they've been dogging out R. Kelly back to back to back, right? And guess what she said? She said that when she was out and about, a lot of folks came up to her and said that they feel it was more to the story. And her guest, her panelist, Nora O'Donnell, she was like, well, R. Kelly, basically, she would say, well, a lot of folks have been hurt by him because she couldn't believe that folks were out on the streets checking Gayle because they were not liking the coverage that she was given. They were making it clear to her. It was enough of them to where she came on the show and said on the streets, she is being stopped and told that it is more to the story than the way that, and than what she's been saying. So yes, sir, I absolutely do. And it's because of the rise of the new Black media.
Well, I can say this. I know that between us and people like Willie D and the Advice Show and et cetera, yes. There is a lot of conversation happening that people like that the Oprahs and the Gayles cannot ignore.
That's right.
Again, I know what I know what the numbers are for MSNBC and their shows and all that. Like, for example, they might get 400,000, 500,000 viewers, et cetera. But when you're hitting, you know, when we can say we have, you know, 330,000 Black subscribers on this channel, Phil has 1 million, Willie D reaches hundreds of thousands of people in every video, you're talking about a pretty deep impact. And what I see kind of happening is you kind of have the bougie Blacks, whether it's in politics or business, who act like that doesn't exist. They think ignore it. And next thing you know, everybody's talking about it because you ain't talking about it. You ain't responded because you think you're too good to respond to the Negroes on the internet, but they don't realize that there are very big numbers coming through. I see the numbers. I see that we had, you know, 300,000 people watching our channel in the last 48 hours alone.
Wow.
300,000, that ain't 30 million, but that's still 300,000 people. That's a lot of people.
Yes,
right?
sir.
It's just us. That's not everybody. You know, so I agree with you. I think Oprah and Gayle might be underestimating the impact on their reputational brands, not because they didn't try to do what they believe is the right thing, but because they did it in such a way that is so blatantly one-sided. You know, in the Michael Jackson thing, people are just like, how can you talk about this without talking about this, and that, right?
Yes,
you know, like, how can you do that, right? With the R. Kelly thing, you know, Black people ain't stupid. People know, you know, we've all, most of us have had some time in the hood, and we know how these little things kind of happen, and the, you know, and we're watching the documentary like, wait, the parents took their daughter to the R. Kelly concert and sent her up on stage and then asked R. Kelly to mentor the daughter. That sounds like sex trafficking. Sounds like there was a transaction that happened here. It doesn't let R. Kelly off the hook, but it just says that there's more to the story.
The story, yes.
Because media feeds you a story that's black or white. It's like innocent or guilty, either an angel or a devil.
Right.
And most people know that most stories have shades of gray.
Yes.
So, like his side, her side, and the truth somewhere in the middle. And I don't think that with the R. Kelly documentary, you got the truth, which I think was a wasted opportunity to address that very serious topic of, you know, how do we protect our girls?
That's right.
How do we address somebody who's doing something that we don't find to be ethical? Instead, now you got us focused on the racism issue, which makes us reject a lot of what you say because you don't have credibility because of your one-sided, very biased, very racist way of covering this particular story.
Well said.
So Vicki, let me let you get the last word before we get out of here. Everybody hit the like button, thumbs up button, share button, and all that stuff to show your digital appreciation for Vicki, and a digital round of applause. So Vicki, what are your final thoughts on this?
Just the fact that we need to continue to keep our eyes wide open. We also need to also be folks of integrity. So that way we don't give, you know, the scripture says, give no place to the devil. So one of the ways that we can also, because we know how our enemy operates, that is to be folks of integrity as much as possible, hold each other accountable. So that way we're not pimped, you understand, to the degree that we are. Don't forget, they did the same thing, as wonderful as Dr. Martin Luther King. What did they do? The FBI, what? They wanted him to kill himself, and they exposed extramarital affairs related to him. So don't forget, even someone as grand and as great as the great Dr. Martin Luther King, don't forget the powers that be sought to exploit that about himself. So I don't want folks to forget that. And it was a sexual thing, right, that they wanted to exploit. So I want folks to keep in mind that there is a greater agenda, that we need to what? We need to not let it go unchecked. So whatever platform you have, be sure that you're tweeting about it. Be sure you're hashtagging about it. Be sure that you change the conversations, the water cooler conversations at work. You don't just let it, you know what I'm saying? Don't get a big argument about it, but I'm just saying, offer an alternative opinion so that the truth can come out, and so that we don't keep reinforcing these lies about who we are, because they have real world effects. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today.
Yes, well, not only were you, well, am I happy that you were here today, but I'm gonna invite you back on a regular basis, because
awesome.
I think it's awesome to work with somebody who's so dedicated to her people, so intelligent, so capable. Everybody, please go follow Vicki Dillard. You can find her Vicki X Dillard on Instagram, or you can search for Vicki Dillard on YouTube. Give this sister support. You know, one of the reasons why I am such a supporter is because I believe in our community we need to have more female voices that are speaking up on behalf of the community. All of our leaders can't be men. That's not good for our community. If all of our leaders, all of our thinkers, all of our most prominent people are men, because we're losing that amazing feminine balance that we need in order to have a holistic community. So thank you for providing that balance, Vicki. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful platform and your support of Black women's voices. Thank you, Dr. Boyce, and thank you to your audience.
Yes, and everybody in here, thank you. I see everybody's giving you thumbs up and claps and everything else. And Vicki Dillard, her show is 6:30 p.m. Eastern time at flynubianqueentv.com. So it's flynubianqueentv.com every night, Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Go sign up.
Less than an hour.
Say it again.
In less than an hour.
Yeah, so she's got to go. She's got to go do her thing. And I'm going to be checking it out. So go subscribe at flynubianqueentv.com. And
awesome.
Vicki, have a great day. And everybody else, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe button before you go, and we will see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, bye.